Hi everyone. Thank you for joining Understanding Rice Varieties, Types, and Forms, a presentation brought to you by USA Rice. USA Rice is a trade association and global advocate for the domestic rice industry, and I'm Cameron Jacobs, Senior Director of Domestic Promotion for the association. In this presentation, I will walk you all through some basics of rice before going into detail about the different rice varieties, types, and forms, as well as their use and application. To start off, what exactly is rice? Well, rice is the edible seed of a semi-aquatic grass called Oryza sativa that thrives in warm and subtropical climates. Fresh from the field, this grain is covered in a tough, protective outer layer known as the hull or husk, which needs to be removed before the rice can be eaten. All rice is processed at least once to remove that protective layer. And once removed, rice at this stage is 100% whole grain brown rice, with the bran and germ layer both intact. Because of that bran and germ, whole grain rice is full of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, protein, and fiber. Most rice then goes through even more processing to remove the germ and bran, leaving us only the endosperm, which gives us white rice. It's also important to mention here that when it comes to U.S. grown rice, all domestic rice is gluten-free, GMO-free, sodium-free, cholesterol-free, and virtually fat-free. After rice is harvested, it's sent to commercial dryers to be dried out to a specific moisture content for milling. And then the collected dried rice is transported to a mill for the final step of the rice production process, rice milling. Mills use advanced optical technology to carefully analyze each grain and remill or remove any inferior ones. This ensures consistency in appearance and size and sets the standard for the highest quality rice. Inferior grains are saved and used for additional purposes not related to human consumption. At the mill, the harvested rough rice passes through sheller machines to remove the inedible hull layer. This process yields 100% whole grain brown rice, with once again the bran and germ layers surrounding the kernel still intact. Brown rice can be used as is, but the majority of rice is further milled to remove that bran and germ layer, which produces white rice. Specific to the U.S. rice industry, that white rice then receives a thin coat of beneficial nutrients like thiamine, niacin, iron, and folic acid to replace some of the nutrients lost during milling and the removal of the bran and germ layer. After that, we are left with enriched white rice. After the milling process, the brown or white rice is then packaged, marketed, and sold to feed America and countries all around the world. Now, just to review, paddy rice or rough rice is the rice that was just collected from the field and hasn't been milled and is not ready for human consumption. Brown rice is the processed rough rice that has its hull or husk removed, but the bran and germ layer still intact. Brown rice has a chewy texture, takes longer to cook than white rice, and is known for its dense nutrient content. Outside of brown rice, there are many whole grain rice options like black, red, and purple rice, but we will get to that later in this presentation. White rice is the brown rice that has been milled even further to remove the bran and germ layer, leaving us with white rice, the most consumed rice globally. Now let's talk about the differences between brown and white rice. Brown rice contains all parts of the seed, the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. There are long, medium, and short grain variations of the brown rice, but in stores, the most typical brown rice you will see is brown long grain rice. Brown rice has a slightly earthy, nutty flavor and a chewy texture. Because brown rice is less processed, it takes longer to cook than white rice and also has a shorter shelf life. Brown whole grain rice is known for powerful nutritional properties like protein and fiber content and is recognized as a key dietary component in maintaining healthy diets and contributing to positive health outcomes. Whole grain rice also helps reduce the risk of heart disease, certain cancers, and also high blood pressure. And now to white rice. White rice has been milled to remove the bran and germ layer with just the endosperm remaining. It's typically enriched with key vitamins to replace what was lost during milling and is a nutritious complex carbohydrate. It's the most commonly consumed rice around the world, and it has quicker cook times and, if stored properly, almost an indefinite shelf life. And just a quick reminder here on this slide, all rice starts out as a whole grain and then is milled further to become white rice, meaning all of your favorite rices are available as a white rice or a brown rice, like a brown jasmine rice or a brown short grain rice. Now that we understand the rice milling process a bit better, as well as the differences between brown and white rice, it's time to talk about rice varieties. There are more than 120,000 kinds of rice in the world, all identified by a degree of milling, grain size, starch content, and fragrance and flavor. Here in the US, we are unique in our ability to produce a range of different rice varieties. So let's take a look at these categories. Rice is typically categorized by four main traits. Degree of milling, is it a whole grain or white rice? Kernel size, is it short, medium, or long grain? All rice is classified as either short, medium, or long grain based on the length to width ratio of its kernels when cooked. Next is starch content. Rice is composed of two types of starch molecules, and depending on the levels of each starch, the qualities and uses of the rice type will vary. Long grain varieties typically have higher levels of the amylose starch, which makes the grains cook up firm and separate, while short and medium grain varieties have higher levels of the amylopectin starch, which makes the grains cook soft and sticky. And then the last category is flavor and aroma. Some rice varieties are known for their distinct flavor and exotic aromas. Flavor profiles range from a popcorn or toasted nuts to sweet spiciness or sweet nuttiness. Now let's talk about long grain rice. The long grain rice category is plentiful and common. Long grain kernels are slender and lengthy and at least 3 times longer than it is wide. Kernels are around 6 to 8 millimeters long. Due to its starch composition, cooked grains are lighter, fluffier, and more separated than their medium and short grain counterparts. Long grain rice works well in pilafs, stir fries, salads, rice bowls, soups, handhelds, and any sides where you want the grains to retain a distinct separateness. Long grain rice is typically found in North, Central, and South American cuisines, Cajun and Creole, African cuisines, and many others. Examples of long grain varieties outside of the traditional firm cooking long grain rice include jasmine and basmati. Growing areas for long grain rice in the U.S. are Arkansas, California, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, and Texas. Next is medium grain rice. The medium grain category is vast and varied, and as its name implies, medium grain rice falls between long grain and short grain rice size-wise. Medium grain rice has shorter, wider kernels than long grain rice, between 2 to 3 times longer than its width. Medium grain kernels are around 5 to 6 millimeters long. Due to their starch composition, cooked medium grains are moist and tender with a tendency to cling together and are slightly chewy. Medium grain is ideal for dishes with a creamy consistency like paella or risotto, as well as Asian dishes, some Cajun dishes, and confections and snacks. It's worth noting that medium grain rice can typically be used when short grain is called for, but not vice versa. Medium grain rice is frequently used in Italian and Asian cuisines, and examples of medium grain varieties include Calrose, Arborio, Valencia, Bamba, Black Japonica rice, and Southern U.S. medium grain. In contrast to Calrose, Southern medium grain rice is not quite as soft or as sticky. Although not as common as brown long grain rice, one can find brown medium grain rice in most stores. And traditional growing areas of medium grain rice in the U.S. are Arkansas, California, Florida, Louisiana, Missouri, and Texas. And now for short grain rice. Short grain rice has a short, plump, almost round kernel. Kernels are around 4 to 5 millimeters long, and cooked grains are soft and sticky with a slight springiness to the bite. Similar to medium grain, short grain rice is ideal for dishes with a creamy consistency, like puddings, desserts, and other sweet rice dishes, as well as sushi. Examples of short grain varieties include koshikari, kalmochi, and most rice labeled as sweet, sticky, or glutinous rice. Although, please note, there are some sweet and glutinous medium and long grain options as well. Short grain rice is often found in Asian cuisine. Growing areas for short grain rice are Arkansas and California. Now, just a quick summary on the different kernel sizes we just went over. Long grain rice is 3 to 4 times as long as it is wide, and cooked long grain has firm, separate, fluffy grains, making it great for pilafs, grain salads, stir fries, rice bowls, and handhelds. Long grain is typically found in North, Central, and South American cuisine, as well as African cuisines and many others. Examples of long grain varieties outside of the traditional firm cooking long grain rice include jasmine, basmati, and Della rice. Medium grain rice is 2 to 3 times as long as it is wide, and cooked medium grain kernels are moist and slightly sticky, making them perfect for soups, risotto, paella, and anything with a creamy consistency. Medium grain is often used in Italian cuisine and also rice, snacks, and confections. Examples of medium grain varieties include Calrose, southern medium grain, Arborio, and black japonica rice. Lastly, short grain rice has kernels that are short and almost round. Due to its starch content, cooked short grain rice is soft, moist, and sticky. These grains are perfect for most Asian dishes, sushi, puddings, desserts, and any other sweet rice dishes. Examples of short grain varieties include koshikari, kalmochi, and anything labeled sushi rice, and most rices labeled as sweet, sticky, or glutinous rice. And just a reminder, glutinous rice has nothing to do with gluten, as all rice is gluten-free. Now that we understand the difference in grain sizes, I want to go over a few varieties that are well known for their specific aromas or flavors, or are just gaining in popularity both at home and on menus. Let's start with jasmine. U.S. jasmine is an aromatic long grain rice with a distinct flavor. Jasmine's popcorny aroma is attributed to a much higher proportion of a naturally occurring compound in rice, and unlike other long grain rices, jasmine rice has more amylopectin starch than an amylose starch, which makes its cooked grain soft, moist, and slightly cling together. Jasmine is a major ingredient in Thai cuisine and can also be swapped for any recipe calling for traditional long grain rice. Jasmine is often used as a base for stir fries or as a simple side to protein. Jasmine rice is an all-purpose grain that's great in a multitude of dishes. It is used widely in Southeast Asian cooking as well as some Middle Eastern dishes. White jasmine is the most prominently available jasmine type, although you will occasionally see brown jasmine rice as well. Now let's talk about basmati rice. U.S. basmati is an aromatic long grain rice, just like jasmine, but with its own distinctive aroma and flavor. In fact, the word basmati actually means queen of fragrance. While cooking, basmati grains become longer, not wider, and the cooked grains are long, separate, and fluffy. They have a savory, nutty flavor and are slightly chewy. Basmati rice is often used in Indian and Mediterranean dishes and can be swapped for most recipes calling for traditional firm cooking long grain rice. Because basmati's grains are long and slender, the rice have a fluffy texture with very little stickiness, making it ideal for eating as a side or as a base for saucy dishes. Basmati rice is commonly available at most grocery stores and can be found in both white and brown rice options. It's also important to know that basmati rice has some of the lowest glycemic index of all rice types, outside of the special domestic varieties developed specifically to have low glycemic index. Even though jasmine and basmati are both long grain rices, There are some key differences between these two types of rice. Basmati's grains are long and a bit more slender. Jasmine's grains tend to stick together a bit more. They both have a slightly similar flavor, but strongly differ in the fragrance of the rice. Now, sticking with aromatic rices, let's talk about a couple more. Black japonica rice is an aromatic medium grain variety with a dark black bran that is 100% whole grain. Cooked black rice grains have a deep purple-black hue. Black japonica rice contains antioxidants and special phytonutrients, and cooked grains are slightly chewy with a subtle sweet spiciness. This rice is ideal for porridges, desserts, and some traditional Chinese dishes. Its hearty texture is particularly great in salads, grain bowls, warm side dishes, and even rice pudding. Red aromatic rice is a long grain rice that has a deep colored honey red bran and is 100% whole grain as well. Each serving provides an increased boost of antioxidants, and cooked grains have a savory, nutty flavor and are slightly chewy. Red rice is perfect for salads, pilafs, soups, and side dishes. Purple rice is a specialty whole grain rice that typically has some aromatic qualities to it. Its deep, rich color comes from a natural plant compound that's also found in blueberries, and it contains more antioxidants than the typical whole grain brown rice. It's naturally fortified with fiber, and this grain combines great taste, rich aroma, and exceptional nutrition with ease of preparation. This variety becomes a beautiful deep purple when cooked. Purple rice is great to pair with protein, fish, or anywhere you would use brown rice. Now let's talk about a couple medium grain varieties you might have heard of or seen in stores. Calrose and Arborio rice. Calrose is a medium grain rice grown in California, hence the Cal in its name. It was first released in 1948, and these days Calrose accounts for the majority of the state's rice production. It's very mild, so it pairs well with pretty much any other flavors. When cooked, Calrose rice is soft and somewhat sticky, making it a good option for a side dish, stir fries, or making sushi. And now for Arborio. Named for the area in Italy where it was first cultivated, U.S. Arborio is a medium grain rice with a characteristic white dot at the center of the grain. Its grains are quite plump, which is why you'll sometimes see it referred to as short grain rice. It contains a higher percentage of the amylopectin starch, which contributes to its creamy texture, and has a higher protein content than other medium grain varieties. Because of its tendency toward creaminess, Arborio has an exceptional ability to absorb flavors and isn't typically cooked on its own as a side dish, but is instead most often used for dishes where its texture is welcome, such as risotto, rice pudding, and desserts. While brown Arborio rice does exist, it does not release its starch in the same way. Now let's talk about sticky rice and sushi rice. You'll sometimes see short grain referred to as sticky rice, but that's technically not the case. Sticky rice is a particular variety that's also often labeled as sweet rice or glutinous rice. And it's important to note here that glutinous rice has nothing to do with gluten, as all rice is naturally gluten-free. Sticky rice is predominantly a short grain variety, and when cooked, its grains are practically glued together due to their glutinous consistency. This characteristic texture is a product of the grain's starch ratio, with sticky rice containing almost all of the amylopectin starch, whereas fluffier styles contain more of the amylose starch. You can find every color of sticky rice from white to brown to purple to red, but white sticky rice is the most common. Sticky or sweet rice is commonly used in Japanese and Thai cuisine, and it's ideal for sweet or savory dishes. And it can also be used as a thickener in soups, sauce, gravy, and puddings. Now on to sushi rice. Sushi rice is more of a preparation of rice than an actual rice variety. It's made by combining hot cooked short or medium grain white rice, and sometimes brown rice, with a combination of sugar, salt, and vinegar. This mixture is then cooled and then used in making sushi. You'll often find packages of rice labeled sushi rice at the store, and they will undoubtedly be short grain rice. Short grain rice tends to clump and stick together when cooked, so you can either add the vinegar, sugar, salt seasoning for traditional sushi rice, or you can cook the short or medium grain rice and enjoy it plain. Now let's talk about wild rice. I know I'm about to blow your mind with this, but wild rice is not technically a rice at all. It is the seed of a semi-aquatic grass known as Zinzania aquatica that is native to North America. It grows in lakes, tidal rivers, and bays, and indigenous tribes have been harvesting this rice for centuries, while commercial production primarily occurs in California and then also the northern climates of Minnesota and southern Canada. Wild rice grains are long, slender, and dark brown, and wild rice is known for its health benefits, like being rich in antioxidants, high in protein, low in fat, low in sodium, and a good source of fiber. These grains are also rich in thiamine, lysine, riboflavin, vitamin B, iron, and much more. Although wild rice cooks like rice, it takes a little longer to cook, has a stronger flavor, and can cost a bit more at the grocery store. These cooked grains can expand up to 3 to 4 times their original size and have a cream-colored interior with a nutty, earthy flavor and a chewy texture. Wild rice pairs well with hearty flavors and is perfect for mixing with white or brown rice. Cooked wild rice is ideal for stuffings, salads, soups, or for adding color and texture to dishes. It can also often be found in rice blends with brown or red rice, which is a good way to balance its strong flavor and offset its expense. For more information on wild rice and to find additional wild rice recipes, I encourage you to visit the California Wild Rice Advisory Board's website. Another type of rice that has been gaining in popularity due to its nutrient content is sprouted rice. Sprouted rice grains are 100% whole grains that are germinated in a warm, humid environment. In the sprouting process, aka germination, the rice kernel converts some of its internal starches into healthy amino acids. That makes the percentage of other nutrients in every single rice grain higher. This is especially true for the beneficial GABA amino acid that is found in abundance in rice after the sprouting process. Sprouting rice increases the overall percentage of nutrients and breaks down phytates. Phytates are naturally occurring antioxidant compounds in grains. Phytates bind to minerals like iron, zinc, magnesium, or calcium, which prevents your body from absorbing some of the nutrients in whole grains. But when phytates are broken down, as in the case of sprouted rice, the micronutrients in rice are easier for your body to absorb. That means sprouted rice provides even more minerals than regular rice. In addition to increased nutrients, sprouted rice contains much higher levels of the GABA amino acid, which has significant benefits to your overall health. GABA is a highly beneficial amino acid found in everyday foods, including peaches, green snap peas, and of course rice. Increasing GABA intake has big health benefits, including lower anxiety, deeper sleep, lower blood pressure, and improved cardiovascular functioning. While GABA is naturally found in rice, U.S. rice millers are able to use this special rice sprouting process that results in higher than average germination rate to produce GABA abundant rice with richer nutrient profiles in comparison to other rice varieties. Another benefit of the sprouting process is that it softens the bran layer of the rice, allowing the rice to cook faster, softer, and easier to digest than traditional brown rice. Sprouted brown rice has 4 to 5 times the GABA content of regular brown rice and over 10 times the GABA content of white rice. Research on sprouted rice shows that after germination, the brown rice is higher in several antioxidants, vitamin E, protein, healthy fats, and fiber. It also has a lower glycemic index, so it's less likely to cause blood sugar spikes. Early studies also suggest that sprouted brown rice might have some anti-diabetic properties. Please note, USA Rice recommends purchasing sprouted rice opposed to sprouting on your own. The sprouting process must occur under controlled temperature and humidity conditions in order not to spoil. Now I want to take a little time to discuss what parboiled rice is. I'm sure you've seen the name when you are in the rice aisle, but what exactly is it? Some may think it's a special variety, but in fact it's a process. Short for partially boiled, parboiled, also known as converted rice, is rough or patty rice that has gone through a steam pressure process before milling. This process allows the rice to retain more nutrients than conventional rice due to some of the bran moving into the endosperm, and ensures a firmer, more separate grain when cooked. Translucent and amber in color, the raw rice has a golden sheen that turns to white after cooking. Cooked parboiled grains are fluffy and separate, but firmer in texture than conventional cooked rice. Some rice lovers swear by using parboiled rice in one-pot dishes because it cooks without becoming mushy. Due to this process, parboiled rice absorbs more water, resulting in more plate coverage, and is excellent for food service due to its ability to hold well on steam tables for longer periods of time than regular rice. Outside of traditional consumption, parboiled rice is used in frozen products and also dry soup mixes. Other processed forms of rice are pre-cooked rice, retort rice, IQF rice, and seasoned rice mixes. Now, moving into those forms of rice, we have four main options. Pre-cooked rice, also called quick cooking or instant rice, is white or brown rice that has been completely cooked and then dehydrated. As a result, pre-cooked rice only requires rehydration and brief cooking period before serving. Pre-cooked is known for its long hold times, making it a great option for food service. Retort, or ready-to-heat rice, is fully cooked rice that is packaged in pouches or cup containers and is ready to eat after brief heating. Retort rice is helpful because of how quickly it's ready to be served or eaten. IQF, or individually quick frozen rice, are cooked rice grains that are individually frozen before packaging to provide a free-flowing ingredient for use in frozen and prepared food products, and for ease of use in food service operations. IQF rice is helpful back of house due to its quick cook times, ease in preparing large quantities, limited waste, and reducing the use of water and energy. And then last, seasoned mixes. Seasoned mixes is rice that can be regularly milled, parboiled, or pre-cooked that contains pre-measured seasonings for ease of preparing a variety of flavored finished products, and is very helpful in the kitchen when the goal is to add authentic global flavors easily. So now that we understand rice varieties and forms, the last thing we need to go over today are rice byproducts or co-products. The main options for these are rice flour, rice bran, rice syrup, and rice bran oil. Rice flour is a perfect gluten-free alternative to traditional flours and can be used the same exact way those traditional flours are used in back of house or in the kitchen. Rice syrup is a mild flavored plant-based sweetener that can be used as is or in cooking and baking to help sweeten food. Rice syrup is a great substitute for sugar, honey, corn syrup, molasses, or even maple syrup. Rice bran is a nutrient-rich byproduct of the rice milling process. Daily consumption of rice bran has been linked to many beneficial health outcomes, ranging from boosting immunity to reducing risk of certain cancers, risk of heart disease, and is also a good source of dietary fiber as well as antioxidants. And then lastly, rice bran oil is a healthy alternative to traditional cooking oils. This oil is extracted from the rice bran, has a nut-like flavor, a great shelf life, and can be used just in the same way those traditional cooking oils are used in your kitchen or back of house. And that wraps up our rice varietal presentation. I appreciate you taking the time to join me today, and I hope this presentation has left you with a better understanding of rice and its different varieties and applications. and that you've developed a new appreciation for U.S. grown rice and the importance of choosing domestically grown rice. Please be sure to visit us at thinkrice.com to browse the rice recipe database, download helpful resources, and for more information on anything rice related. Stay connected with USA Rice by finding us on Facebook at USA Rice and following us on Instagram and Twitter at think_rice. For anything else, feel free to contact me, Cameron Jacobs, directly with any questions at cjacobs@usarice.com. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation from USA Rice.